Hi, everyone. Welcome to Flock Talk. I'm Erin Morgan.
And I'm Jordan Sloggett.
And we work for the farmer members of the Ontario Sheep Farmers Organization.
This week, we are discussing AgSights offerings for sheep farmers with Betty Jo Almond, the General Manager of AgSights.
Welcome, Betty Jo. Thanks for joining us on Flock Talk.
Thank you for having me. Pretty excited to be here.
Amazing. Can you start out by telling us a little bit about yourself? How did you get involved with AgSights?
Sure. So I grew up on a beef farm in Eastern Ontario and came to the University of Guelph with aspirations of veterinarian, like every young girl does, and got into the space of genetics in my animal science degree as an Aggie, and just loved that aspect of it and pursued a career in it. I didn't come into AgSights until about 10 years into my career. I followed a mentor of mine and was pretty excited about the things that AgSights was doing for Ontario livestock.
Betty Jo, could you provide us an overview of AgSights and maybe describe its governance structure and how you work with sheep farmers?
Sure. So we're quite similar to the Ontario Sheep Farmers Organization. We are a not-for-profit member organization that started in 1993 with an initial focus on beef genetic improvement and in particular testing bulls and heifers. And then through the years growing into a business that has to support the records that are needed for genetic improvement. We got into on-farm management tools, and then a few years ago, like maybe even closer to 10 or 15, we had lots of interaction with sheep and with goat industry representatives who saw what we were doing for beef and said, okay, can you make this also available for sheep and goats? And the answer is yes, at a fraction of the cost, because a lot of the things that you do raising beef, sheep, or goats is very similar. It's just there's specific species differences that need to be accounted for. So that's kind of the start of how we got into supporting sheep development. Our governance structure is we are governed by a board of directors. 5 are elected from our membership, and then those 5 appoint 4 other directors. We do have a sheep producer on our board as well.
Cool. And is Ontario Sheep Farmers a member?
No, Ontario Sheep Farmers isn't a member. It's more the people who use our products and services, but Ontario Sheep Farmers is a partner of ours in different collaborations and projects, and we do stay pretty informed on what Ontario Sheep Farmers is working towards, because we want to help where we can, especially when the focus is genetic improvement.
Cool. Okay. So let's talk about the farm management software that you guys have developed. What are some key features of that software that make it work well for sheep farmers, and how have you been working over the last few years to improve it?
Sure. So 3 things come to mind initially. We have a team here to support people using our farm management software. Right up front, we recognize keeping records and figuring out to do with those records maybe isn't what a farmer wants to spend time doing in a day. So where we can help and make it easier to do that, then that's what our team is here to do. The other second thing that I would mention about our farm management software is that we have a certification called Ag Data Transparency. And that really is a legal review of our data use policy, because first and foremost, farmers own the data that they put in. And then any use of that data is either by permission for them to act on their behalf, where it benefits their farm, or to use it for aggregate purposes to support where sheep farmers need some insight into what's happening on farm. And then the third thing, if I was just to point to top 3, is customization. One thing that we've maintained through all our versions of our software is that while the same kind of records are kept, how people like to look at them and use them can be different. And some of getting over the hurdle of using record-keeping software is looking at something that's familiar to you and that means something to what you're doing today. So within BioTrack Plus, we can create custom views. And now with our latest version, we can even visually represent the data and have an interactive function where you can see some benchmarking data. And then if you see something you need to drill into, you can click on that and get right into the detailed records of the animals without having to figure out, how do I sort my records to figure out which ones are contributing to what's going on here? And the last thing that I would highlight is that we do integrate with Genovis. So anyone looking for genetic improvement, we want to support the use of the Genovis CPDs as well.
Amazing.
Betty Jo, could you dig into a little bit specifically about how the farm management software can help farmers track and manage their flock's health and productivity?
Sure. So we want to start with what people are familiar doing to capture their records. Some maybe smaller operations like to still capture things by writing it down or saving it into an Excel spreadsheet. Others are potentially using different hardware, different scale heads and readers to capture data. So what we do is help take that data and put it into our software. It's very Excel based. That gives us the most flexibility to create different views and visual representation of data. So people can either enter their records directly, but ideally we would guide people to use what they're still comfortable doing today. And then we take what they are comfortable doing and turn it into more value through the program.
That's great to hear that you can work with existing systems and you're not asking people to, completely adopt something that they're not familiar with at all.
Mm-hmm. And the only other part I'd say is because it's very Excel based, if someone was to choose to move on to something else, then they, like I said, they own their data. So everything can be exported to Excel and they don't lose what they've been putting into our program.
That's great. So moving on to another program that you guys are working with us on, which is ProcessorLinks, which my understanding is a partnership, AgSights, Meat and Poultry Ontario, and some of the commodity organizations. Can you tell us a little bit about that project?
Sure. So in initial days, it was led by Meat and Poultry Ontario to try and dig into some of the challenges around abattoir efficiencies and further processing. And now it's in its third phase of evolving that work. Today, what we've got available is a dashboard where you can log in or just come to the dashboard and you can search by species and by region in Ontario and see which businesses offer the services that you might be interested in. And then you can reach out to them to book space. And our overall long-term goal, and that is driven by pilot groups and discussions on where farmers and abattoir owners need it to go, is almost functioning like Expedia for booking hotels. That you can go in and you can put your date range in there. You can say what region in Ontario and what services, and all of the automation of booking that reservation, managing the reservation with reminders or changes that need to happen can all happen by text or email or logging into your reservation portal.
And those abattoirs some of them are willing to work with specialized cut sheets and things like that, right?
Yes, absolutely. So again, it models the Expedia model of hotels, but it's got that meat aspect to it of if you're booking your reservations, there's things that abattoirs need to know up front on how you want your animals harvested, and even just awareness of the services that an abattoir provides in packaging and labeling your product, because in the end, that's your finished product that you're growing and raising. And you want to make sure that it's going to be in a quality that fits your brand and your business.
Mm-hmm. At your annual meeting, you had a company that was talking about a new long distance tag. Can you describe AgSights' involvement with this project and what are the advantages that those long distance tags offer in comparison to traditional tagging methods?
Yeah. So we're a partner and distributor. That the company is Headwhistle. And those tags have the ability of being read 10 meters away using the readers that pick up that signal. They are using an ultra high frequency signal, and it just means that you can monitor and track your animals without having to be so close and hands-on.
Wow, that's really cool. And then another thing that was at your annual meeting was a presentation from a group that was looking at heat detection using like it looked like a heat gun like you would use in a home inspection, but maybe I'm oversimplifying. But can you tell us a little bit about how that technology works and what its benefits are for farmers?
Sure. So it's using infrared camera technology. And right now we've got pilot groups ongoing for dairy cattle. We then, as we nail that down, we'll need to get some voluntary herds for sheep so that we can collect the data and fine tune the algorithms to make the prediction. But basically, what it's doing is it's using an infrared image to see where the hot spots are in the back end of an animal, so that can be directly related to the stage of estrus that animal is in. And then it can make recommendations or alerts to the farmer on when is the best time to breed that animal if you're using AI, or just to be aware of it's coming into heat and maybe pay attention closer during that period to know a breeding date.
Yeah, it'd be interesting because there may be some aspects of sheep production that it may help with differently from heat detection, like maybe pregnancy detection, because pregnancy probably gives off a different heat signature.
Yeah, so pregnancy almost looks like a bit of a spider web when we can see those images in the heat pattern under the skin of it. And so some of the struggles for sheep, today it's ready for pork and a little bit more data and it's ready for beef. To try it out and make it available for sheep, we just need to work through the challenge around the layer of wool and being able to see the heat pattern of what we need to pay attention to make those alerts.
Mm-hmm. So looking ahead, what new developments or innovations can we expect from AgSights to further support sheep farmers?
We are growing our approach of helping sheep farmers with their records in the model of a consultant approach. We want to make sure that people feel like they're supported throughout the year rather than, great, thank you for signing up for our tool and we'll touch base with you at renewal time. We don't want to be doing that. So I'm more talking about the support that people get. We do want to learn from our members on how do we better support them. We do have regular webinars that we call track talks that we're starting to build a community of members learning from each other and also having that technical expertise from our team to guide them through what's important today for them to capture records on and how can they make best use of the program. And so in addition to that, we are fully supporting the continuation of a genetic service collaboration between the service providers and industry groups for sheep and goats, so that in the future, the human expertise that can continue to support genetic improvement and the tools that can be provided to farmers has that human resource that's going to be able to help them going forward. And then, of course, we're always interested in partnering in research projects and helping anything that supports genetic improvement.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Betty Jo, for joining us today. And thank you for giving us an update. You guys are doing some really cool stuff.
Well, thank you. And just a shout out to Ontario sheep farmers. You've got a great team there. And it's very nice to work with a group that has the farmer's heart at mind in all the things that they work towards.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode.
Join us next Wednesday for our education-themed interview with Michael Rogers from the University of Guelph, who's going to talk to us about the digestion of different types of foods. Hey, Jordan, is there anything cool going on at the Ontario Sheep Farmers?
If you enjoyed our podcast, please subscribe to your podcast app to receive alerts for future episodes, and please consider sharing this podcast with your friends.
For more Ontario Sheep Farmers content, follow us on social media, Ontario Sheep Farmers on Instagram and Facebook, and Ontario Sheep on X. And visit our website at ontariosheep.org.